Yo, what's going on, everybody? The Cool Geek here, and I'm at another video. And today I'll be power scaling Kid Rock Lee from part 1 of Naruto. Let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, I'll be power scaling Rock Lee from part 1. I'll be going over his base, him with and without his weights, and I'll touch on Drunken Lee as well. Also, I'll go over some of the misconceptions surrounding Lee. Each section will be a different version of Lee and will contain AP, speed, and durability. Now, I thought I should mention that I plan on doing live streams consistently every Saturday around 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Depending on when this video goes up and how the next few weeks go, I might have done one or two live streams by the time this video goes up. But yeah, I just thought I should tell you, as well as I plan to upload once per week, so all in all, I'll be putting out content twice per week. As another thing, let me know in the comments down below whether or not you plan on attending any of the future live streams. If you plan on joining them consistently, or maybe you'll just hop in occasionally, let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. Or any questions you'll have about the live streams, just let me know. Also, if you have any problems with the scaling presented in this video, tell me in the comment section down below, or check the links in the description for my Discord server, my regular server, which is it has like a gaming VC, just a general chat. Also, you can debate like IRL topics and do basically whatever you want. If you want to debate me on this specifically, you can hop in my versus debate server, or if you just want to debate any sort of versus battles, hop in that one. Both of the links, like I said, will be in the description down below. Now let's jump into the scaling. So I'll be starting off with base weighted Lee. Some of his feats and quote anti-feats, and those include destroying pre-amp Sasuke in a fight, losing to Dosu in a fight due to what was essentially an invisible, omnidirectional, unblockable attack. Also, later on in the Chunin exams, he was relative to Gar's sand in speed because he was able to dodge it, but at the same time, he wasn't quite able to blitz it either, so I'll go over why that matters later. Preamp Sasuke is city block level via 2 calcs. To learn more about Kid Sasuke, check out my Kid Sasuke video, link in the description. The 2 calcs come out to 18.58 tons, which is city block level, and that's from the fireball calc, and 43 tons of TNT, which is city block level as well, via the bear calc. Now for the rest of the AP, I will be dividing it into low end and high end, because even though both of those calcs are city block level, one is much higher into city block level, which makes sense because the higher end happens a little later on. For speed, that Sasuke should have been around Mach 1. Again, to learn more about that Sasuke, check out my video on him. Anyway, on to the next category. Now this is where things start to get spicy. Post-amp Sasuke was stated to be equal to base weightless Lee multiple times. This is the same Sasuke that I proved should be a lightning timer in my Kid Sasuke video, link in the description. As for AP, Lee damaged Gar's sand armor. Now the reason this matters is because AP should be relative to durability. So Gar's sand armor should scale to his own AP, if not higher, because it's made out of his sand and should scale above his normal defense because it was stated to be a last resort, which should be town level, scaling off of Gar's Sand Tsunami. And even if you don't want to use that, because the Sand Tsunami takes prep time. Just the fact that Gaara had Kiba so shook that Kiba wanted to avoid fighting him at all costs. Kiba didn't say that about anyone else except for Gaara, but yet here comes Lee, damaging him. And by the way, this is the same Kiba that should scale to CM2 Sakon, who scales to CM2 Jirobo, who should be small town level plus. But it's kind of weird that taking off his weights make him stronger. But then again, that's how it works in Dragon Ball. Like Goku's power level when he took off his weights, like got higher and he got like physically stronger, not just faster. Also Piccolo, same thing with his like weighted cape and turban, I believe it's called. So there's that. Also, the fact that increasing his speed should increase his force, because force equals mass times acceleration. If he has relatively the same mass, but his speed increases, exponentially, it would make sense that so would his force. But if you don't like this way of scaling Lee, that's fine. The rest of the video, I'm going to be assuming that this Lee is just as strong as the last one. It may or may not be a low ball, but it doesn't matter. Most of the stuff from this point on will be dealing with multipliers. So if you want, just say he's town level. I go back to my Kid Sasuke video because again I have the calcs for Jirobo and Sakon there. So just use those calcs and add on the multipliers that I'm about to give you, and it should be, a good result. But yeah. Now to add the spice, Lee, after removing his weights, tags and damages Gaara with a kick, which Lee punched Gaara in the face and his sand armor started melting. Then Gaara reformed it thicker than before. Like, that's very important. He reformed it thicker than before, which is important because keep in mind, because to my knowledge, Gaara has never reformed his sand armor thicker than it was before. Not even in his fight with Sasuke, who, keep in mind, also broke his sand. Not saying that this like base Lee is stronger than like base Sasuke, but it's going to be important when we get to the multipliers later and debunking of some misconceptions. So keep that in mind. Gaara reformed his sand armor thicker than before. Anyway, on to the next category. Now I'm going to be going over a relatively obscure version of Lee in this category. It's going to be first gate weighted Lee. Now, how strong you think this Lee is depends entirely on what you think the gate multipliers are, because this Lee was only really shown once in the entire series for like a couple minutes in the anime, or like a few, not even a few, it was like 3 panels or something like that in the manga. I'll probably have the scan on screen right here, or maybe a couple scans. But yeah, so I recently dropped a video on the gate multipliers. I would highly, highly recommend you check it out so that you're not lost when I start talking about the numbers. Link will be in the description. But the first gate should be at least a 10 to 12 times boost, if not way higher. It's pretty much inarguable at that point. If you want to see why, check out the link in the description again, because there's only one real piece of evidence against it, and it's pretty bad. But yeah. So anyway, we'll be using a 12 times boost for each gate in this video to make things a little more simple. And to see why I think that's the most consistent multiplier, again, check out that 8 gates video. Anyway, now, since the first gate is a 12 times buff, all we have to do is multiply the previous weighted leave values by 12 times. So 12 times the previous AP would be 222.96 tons as a low ball and 516 tons as a high ball. Both values are multi-city block level. As for speed, if you think that base weighted Lee is Mach 1, and then this Lee would be Mach 12, because again, you're just multiplying by 12, and 1 times any number is the other number, so Mach 12, which is hypersonic plus. On to the next category. Okay, back to the more mainstream versions of Lee. First gate weightless Lee should be 12 times base weightless Lee in terms of all stats, who I already established should be a lightning timer. Also, in this state, he speed blitzed Gar's Sand, and no matter what you think, he was about to heavily damage Gara with his, ultimate move, the Lotus. But I'll leave the part of how much he was about to damage Gara up to you, because Gara did substitute out after all, so we don't know for sure. So yeah, like I said, I'll leave that up to you. Now this is important because Gara's scaling can be weird, and I plan to make a power skill on him sometime in the near future. But AP doesn't really change from the last section, but speed should be 12 times a lightning timer instead of someone who's just Mach speed, which should be Mach 14,988, which is 1.7% the speed of light, which is sub-relativistic. Now, before you contest this number, make sure you see my video on Kid Sasuke and the gates respectively. Okay, on to second gate Lee. I think it's important to note that the second gate Lee that we see use the second gate in the anime slash manga is one that could barely stand before he opens the second gate. Keep that in mind because it's going to be extremely important later on. As a side note, Lee is able to open the second gate before anyone knows what happened. I thought it was important to bring this up because I've heard people try to say that it takes Lee too long to open any of the gates, when at least this one, he opened almost instantaneously. Because keep in mind, when I say no one was able to know, I mean no one knew, which is very telling because Kakashi was watching. This is the same Kakashi who is a lightning timer, right? This is the one who has he cut a lightning bolt in half as a kid, right? Way back in his Ambu days. He was I think like 14 or something like that. He cut a lightning bolt in half. He could not even tell that Lee opened up the second gate. That's crazy. So yeah, if anyone says it takes Lee too long to open the gates, just smack that out of the way, okay? Just slap it, okay? So yeah, I just thought I should bring that up. Also, and here comes the spicy part, this second gate Lee might equal a full power base weightless Lee. You heard that right. Base weightless Lee might equal second gate Lee. The reason I say this is because the way this scene goes, right? The way I think that this Lee equals base weightless Lee is because Lee could barely stand, right? And after that, people said he regained his speed, right? After he opened the second gate, people were like, Nani? He got his speed back? They didn't say, he's faster than before. They just said he got his speed back. Now, I have heard people say that this means that, he got back his first gate speed. One of my researchers actually was the one who gave me this argument. So shout out to the research team, but I personally think they're talking about base Lee because his movements don't look quite that fast in comparison to the first gate. I think his movements look more so like when he was in base after he just took off his weights. So yeah, I think that's important to keep in mind because these next numbers might seem a bit low, but this is why. Because this Lee is actually very nerfed. If you want to see a hypothetical full power Lee, you can just add the 12 times buff onto the previous category and just keep multiplying by 12, but you can get some pretty ridiculous numbers that are a bit out there, but especially for part 1 characters, although at the end I'll talk about how that can make sense when I talk about fifth gate Lee under these circumstances, because he's still really, really fast. Just a little bit of foreshadowing there. But yeah. So assuming he's equal to his base for himself here, that's Mach 1249, aka, a lightning timer. And for AP, he's probably weakened physically as well, so that would put him at the same old 15.58 tons, again, which is city block level, and as well as the 43 tons, which is also city block level. And yeah, on to the next category. Okay, now on to third gate Lee. Now, Lee was only in the third gate for the time it took him to go from the third gate to the fourth gate, so I'll keep this brief. Third gate Lee should scale 12 times the previous Lee, which would put him at Mach 14,988 in terms of speed, which is about 1.7%, excuse me, the speed of light, which is sub-relativistic. In terms of AP, this would put him at 222.96 tons worth of TNT as a low ball, and 516 tons worth of TNT as a high ball. Both values are multi-city block level. Now we have fourth gate Lee. Funnily enough, this Lee is the one who pinballed Gara like crazy. So this is actually the Lee that put in the most work against Gara. Most people think like all that damage Lee did in the fifth gate. That's actually wrong. Only like the last like one or two punches that Lee dealt to Gara were actually in the fifth gate. So yeah, keep that in mind. Or I think he did like a punch in the Lotus, in like his final Lotus or whatever. Maybe it was two punches in the Lotus. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, this is where he did most of the damage. Where he pinballed him like crazy and was just doo-dooing on him so bad. So yeah, this Lee should be 12 times stronger than third gate Lee. So if we multiply the previous speed values by 12, we get Mach 179,856, which is 20.5% the speed of light, which is relativistic. Now to do the same with the AP values from earlier, we get 2.675 kilotons, which is small town level, as well as that, and that's the low end, as well as 6.192 kilotons, which is regular town level, as more of a high end. On to the next category. Now for when Kid Lee uses his ultimate weapon, the fifth gate. Now, this is where some people might start to disagree. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this form of scaling Lee. In the meantime, just hear what I have to say until the very end. Now, this Lee should be 12 times stronger than the fourth gate Lee that we just were talking about, which in terms of AP would make him have 32.1 kilotons worth of TNT of attack potency, which is town level, as a low ball, and 74.304 kilotons worth of TNT, which is town level, as more of a high ball. Oh boy. Now for speed. Make sure you watch until the end before you come for my head. So, repeating the multiply by 12 pattern that we did for all the previous gates, we get Mach. Please be sitting down when I say this. We get Mach 2,158,272, which is, and don't murder me for this, but it comes out. It's the numbers. It's not me. Attack the numbers. Don't attack me. which is 2.469 times the speed of light, which is low-end FTL. Which makes sense, right? Hear me out. It makes sense because the Lee we see use the 5th gate almost kills Gaara. The only reason he survived is because he cushioned his fall with the sand. Also, this level of speed is more consistent because Guy said that no one can beat this Lee. This Lee is he said, and I quote, "This Lee is impossible to be touched." Maybe that was paraphrasing, but I'll have the scan on screen so you'll see. He said, "This Lee cannot be touched." It's the gates are the ultimate weapon to use against Neji because you can't touch this Lee. He's too fast. And this makes sense because this would logically include base Guy himself. Now, hear me out, right? The reason I say this is because there's like flashbacks of Lee sparring with Guy, right? And if Lee is approaching anywhere near base Guy in terms of speed, even if you think he's 1,000 times weaker, you know, with the 5th gate, the 5th gate is a really big deal, right? We're talking exponential amps here. These are the same gates that Guy used to go from like town to country to like small planet level, probably higher against Jubi Madara. I'll do power scales on Shippuden characters after I finish up with part 1 characters, but yeah, like no matter what you think, Guy went from being most likely in the island level ranges, maybe country if you really want to go there, to being small planet to planet level. That gap is huge. Just the gap to go from like multi-continental to moon level is huge. Going from like moon to small planet I don't think is as big of a gap, but it's still there, right? It's still a pretty sizable gap, and then from small planet to planet. That's huge. Like, for a reference, right? People like do a weird little calc stack with like scaling Ukiura and Vassal to Ichigo. They say, oh well Bankai is 10 times, and then like the Hollow Mask is 10 times, and you know they keep stacking on like a Cerro Ascuris, you know, Lantero I can't pronounce that attack, you know, stuff like that, and they go from being country to like I think it's like low end multi-continental, and that gap is like tens of thousands of times or something like that. It's like a 10,000 times amp, maybe 20,000 if you use like half power Shiakusho or whatever it's called, and then like say if he goes full powers like twice that, that like 20,000 times buff only goes from country to continental. So yeah, and that's just stacking 10 times. These are 12 times amps, and that works pretty much the same way. It's exponential. Again, if you don't think it's exponential, watch my 8 gates video. I go over it in depth. I bring up all the scans, I bring up all the guides, everything. So go watch that video, come back, see if you're still mad at me. You know, if not, good. If you are, tell me in the comments below why. Maybe hop in my Discord server, we can debate it out. Okay, but yeah. Now, that's very important because not only do Lee and Guy like spar together, right? But in one of the filler arcs, which is still in part 1 if I remember correctly, I don't think it was Shippuden yet. Lee actually goes toe to toe with Guy, and they actually like throw hands, and they both enter their gate forms, right? And Lee's able to keep up, right? And that's something that's very important to note when talking about Lee's speed. And now this is the same Guy, right? Keep in mind, I'm not going to go into too much of Guy's scaling because I plan on doing a video on him specifically, but this is the same Guy that reacted to reanimated Haku's ice mirrors pretty easily in the early war in base. Base Guy reacted to Lightspeed Haku. I did a Haku video, link will be in the description, explaining why his ice mirror reflection is in fact a light speed. So go and watch that too. And 5th Gate Lee is supposed to be able to beat that guy. Like, I don't think it's that much of a reach for him to be just... Because keep in mind, it's only like 2.5 times faster than light if you highball. It's 2.469 times. You can round that up, sure, whatever. 2.5 times. But it's not that much faster. So I just want you to keep that in mind, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much the 5th Gate Lee scaling. I hope you're not too mad at me with that speed, but yeah, let's move on to the next category. Now for Drunken Lee, like I said. So I'm not going to tell you a concrete value for how strong or fast he is, but I will tell you all of the feats and statements that he has, that I know of, that I can remember at least. But he fights base and CM1 King Imimaru. Guy says that he could not withstrain him without hurting him. So, like, pretty much, he fights King Imimaru. He does pretty good, actually. And Guy just says, like, after he got drunk at the bar, okay, it wasn't a bar, but after he got drunk at the place, right, I couldn't, like, withstrain him. I couldn't just put him in a headlock or sit on him or something, right? I would have had to actually hurt him if I wanted to do anything. So there's that. I'm assuming it's base Guy. I doubt Guy, went into the freaking 7th gate or anything. So don't get too carried away with that, right? Like, that would be a yikes. I don't want anyone trying to argue that. That'd be terrible. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, you can try to argue it, but don't use it against me because I will debunk that instantly. But so yeah, base Guy couldn't withstrain him without decking him in the nose or something. But yeah, anyway, on to the next category. Now to debunk the downplay, the biggest piece of downplay that I see most of the time is that Lee lost to Dosu, so weighted Lee isn't even the speed of sound. Now, the debunk to that is the fact that A, Dosu says that he can control the sound with his chakra, so it's most likely amped. B, sound is typically omnidirectional, so you can't really dodge it unless you get behind something. And C, if the sound hits any part of your body, it makes its way to your ear. So yeah, Lee was kinda doomed. The next thing is something fairly new to me. It's that no Naruto characters are faster than sound until 4th Gate Lee, because we don't see them make sonic booms like Lee does. This argument is fundamentally flawed because A, faster characters than Lee don't make sonic booms, like Sage Naruto, for instance. 6th and 7th Gate Guy, literally all 6 pass level characters don't make sonic booms, etc. And B, it literally contradicts other feats and statements, like CM1 Sasuke dodged sound, and basically the Sound Ninja's entire existence. Like, the Sound Ninja's entire shtick is I use sound and, like, faster than sound attacks. And when people say Sasuke, like, dodged sound, that's actually kind of a lowball, because it's a supersonic attack, not just regular sound. Supersonic, by definition, is the speed of sound or faster, which means this attack is most likely faster than sound, because all of their attacks are sound. So it doesn't make sense for, the supersonic attack, which is Dosu's, not Dosu, I'm sorry. I forgot the other guy's name, but the other guy, his, like, special move is the supersonic attack. So it would logically be faster than just normal sound, because Dosu and everyone was just like, yeah, all of our attacks are the speed of sound. So it makes sense that attack is much faster than sound. And, Lee doo-dooed on base Sasuke, and CM1 is only so much faster. You can maybe say like between 2 and 5 times. I think it's 2 times. One of my researchers thinks it's 5 times. So you can say between 2 and 5 times. Also, this one is more concrete. In the land of waves, Naruto, not even Sasuke, Naruto, who at the time was pretty much the weakest out of, Naruto, Sakura, and himself. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke, sorry. Um, and he blitzed these random, like, fodder goons to the point where he would have had to have been at least Mach 1, if not higher. And then Lee just doo-dooed on him so bad. He destroyed him and was like, I don't like you. I want to fight Sasuke. Haha, eyes. I only fight people with good eyeballs, right? I need a good warm-up for Neji. Stuff like that. So, yeah. Him being not sound speed until 4th gate is kind of bad. Like, it's not that good of an argument. Please don't use it unless you're debating someone who's like dumb or something, I don't know. Or they're just not really a scaler. If they're not a scaler, they can be smart, but if they're not a scaler, then they might fall for it. But if they actually know what they're doing, if they're like a power scaler, then and they're not dumb and they're a power scaler, it won't work on them. So yeah, those are the two biggest pieces of downplay. Everything else I see, most people don't have issues debunking it more or less. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, I don't really have anything else to go over for this section. On to the next one. Okay, guys, time for hacks. I've been seeing people say Lee has no hacks, which is weird because Lee has the best hacks in the verse. Are you guys ready for this? Lee has the power of youth! No, I'm just kidding. Rip headphone users. But in all seriousness, Lee should have all the basic hacks that comes with chakra by default. If you want to know what I mean by that, check out my video on how chakra works. Link will be in the description. Okay, time for a recap. All in all, Kid Lee is an extremely fast and strong character that has been underestimated for a long time now. Hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it took so long for this to come out. I plan on doing live streams every Saturday at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let me know if you'll be there in a comment down below. Check out the description also. A bunch of goodies will be down there. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn on the bell to know whenever I upload or go live, and share the Cool Geek out. Bye.